Hello friends, it's Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, and in today's video we're going to do some kitchen work and some work outdoors on the homestead, just show you everything that's happening at this point of the year here on the homestead. And it is now officially spring, and it is definitely feeling like spring around here. I love the way the sunlight pours into the windows in the morning. It just puts me in such a wonderful mood and is so beautiful. Another blessing of this time of year is the fact that the chickens and the ducks are beginning to lay eggs again. We're getting to the point where there are enough eggs that maybe we can get some in the incubator and hatch out this year's additions to our flock of laying hens. So it's fun to be able to wash and get eggs in the fridge again because it was a long winter break. This week I was down in the cellar and I noticed the apple cider vinegar that I had started last October was beginning to give off a really strong smell. And when I can walk past it and smell it, that's when I know that those batches are done. So I have two batches here. One is apple cider vinegar and one is apple scrap vinegar. So these have done their second ferment. As I mentioned, it's been since October that they have been fermenting down in the cellar. So let me show you the next step. And I will link a video in the description to show you the beginning steps of this process. So this right here is called a mother of vinegar. This is the colony of bacteria that ferments the vinegar. And so we're just going to pull those out of the batch of vinegar. Make sure you wash your hands first so you don't contaminate those colonies of bacteria. And I'm just going to fill a jar with those mothers of vinegar, and we're going to keep that in the fridge to start future batches of vinegar. And then we're just going to strain out the rest of it and fill our quart jars with that vinegar. And then we can put some lids on these jars and put them down in the cellar into storage. So we'll use this vinegar for things like salad dressings. Adam has a little bit in his water every morning. Those chicks that we will hatch out here in the next month or so, they will also get a little bit of vinegar in their water to help prevent some health issues that chicks are prone to. Now this other batch was apple scrap vinegar, which is just apple cores that we had soaked and fermented. That's different than apple cider vinegar. And so in that video that I link in the description, it will explain the difference. But you can mix these two vinegars and it won't be an issue. I'm taking the mothers from both of them to put in my jar. And then this fall, when I go to make more apple cider or apple scrap vinegar, I will use those mothers of vinegar to jumpstart those new batches. So if you want to learn more, check out that video that I'm linking. But I was very happy to add a gallon of vinegar to the pantry shelves. That apple cider cost me $6 last fall, and I got a gallon of beautiful vinegar out of it. So that was definitely a good deal. This time of year, we're also busy doing schoolwork, and the weather is so beautiful that no one wants to be indoors doing our schoolwork. So this past week, we were able to get the deck all set up in order to start doing our school lessons outside. So just getting our picnic table set up. This is where we'll do school lessons and where I like to feed the children through. Whenever it's warm, we like to keep the mess contained outside. So that picnic table will see a lot of action over the coming months. And then of course, getting the cushions put on our chairs. I like to sit and do my read alouds for the children, or I'll nurse the baby on these comfy chairs while the children play on the deck. And this week we decided to plant tomatoes. We did a vintage wine tomato, solar flare. We also did a German pink. We're going to also do some wild cherry tomatoes for snacking, Paul Robeson tomatoes, a Berkeley tie-dye pink. Those are beautiful. Black from Tula. And then we have Brandywine. And we are about 8 weeks from our last frost date, so it was a good time to start these tomatoes. And you'll notice that all of those varieties were slicer tomatoes or snacking cherry tomatoes. My canning tomatoes will typically be paste tomatoes, like Amish paste, and I can get a really good deal on those tomatoes at a local greenhouse. I can buy a whole flat of them for like $11. And it's just a really efficient way for me to get tomatoes in the ground versus having to use up some of the space under our very limited space in our grow lights indoors. So I grow the slicers and the snackers that I can't find at my local nursery, and I'll grow those indoors under our grow lights. But the things that I'm able to purchase at our local greenhouse, I will go ahead and get there. And so hopefully in the end, I'll have enough tomatoes for our fresh eating, for sandwiches and our snacking. And then all of my canning tomatoes will come from the local nursery. So the little ones helped me get those seeds started. We got them all watered, and then we will bring those inside and put them under the grow lights. And the footage in this video is actually over a little over a week. And so a week later, you can see that they already started sprouting. It's so exciting. I can't wait to have fresh tomatoes on BLT sandwiches this summer. And then we also are experimenting with snow peas. For the last 3 years, I have tried to plant peas outdoors, and mice or other critters always eat the seed, and I'll be left with a couple plants left, which isn't enough for our family. So I'm experimenting with planting the peas and starting them indoors, and then I'm going to transplant them outside to see if the critters will leave them alone, and we can finally have some wonderful pea pods to add to our salads and our stir fries this summer. So Levi's doing a wonderful job of planting those for me, and we'll also get those watered and put them inside under the grow lights. And then just as soon as they get maybe about 4 inches tall, I'll bring them outside and I'll harden them off, and then they'll be just about ready. The weather will be fine to go ahead and transplant them outdoors and get them growing in the garden. So once again, after about a week, this is what we had. It's so exciting. I love seeing the little sprouts of green growing inside the house. So far we've only done our tomatoes, our peas, our loofah. I did some parsley and then the peppers that I showed you in a video. And I had a serious germination problem with some of these peppers. So we are going to wait and see what happens with those. As you guys know, I had a baby just a couple months ago. So through last year's gardening season, I was pregnant. I had morning sickness through the beginning of the season, and then at the time that I would have been kind of putting the garden to bed, I was very heavily pregnant and just had run out of energy. And so I started thinking this week that I need to take some time and get out into the garden. And you guys, oh my goodness, look at this mess. I can't even believe I'm showing this to you, but I'm trying to be authentic and real and show you that this is what real life can be like. So we have some serious work to do. Thankfully, my garlic survived my neglect. I have one bed here that I forgot to mulch, and it survived the very cold temperatures, which I'm very happy about. My other 2 beds were mulched and also did well. So you just kind of have to ask yourself, how do you eat an elephant? Well, you one bite at a time. And so that's how I'm looking at this garden. I'm just trying to clear one bed at a time. And as I get a bed cleared, I can plant it this time of year with things like onions and other cold weather crops. I stupidly didn't wear gloves on this day and cut my finger, which was not pleasant. So I went and got some gloves and came back out, and I was able to get quite a few beds cleared, and I had the little boys help me. We are going to do an experiment this year because we're having a rather warm spring. I just want to see what'll happen if I throw a few seeds in these beds. Typically, I wouldn't plant these radishes for probably another 3 or 4 weeks, but I have a lot of radish seeds here, and one of the things I love about gardening is just that you can experiment every year and see what happens. I have some other friends that live in Ohio that have had success with planting radishes this early. And the great thing about radishes is once they germinate, they only take about 21 days for you to get a harvest. So I thought this bed is cleared and fertilized and just sitting here empty. So maybe I'll be successful and these radish seeds will grow, and then I can harvest and we'll have fresh radishes to eat just in time for the bed to be completely cleared out and planted with some summer crops. So the little boys had fun getting those seeds planted for me. I love that the smaller children just enjoy working with me in the garden. It's so much fun to have them by my side. We also are experimenting with some lettuces, and we may need to cover these if the temperatures drop over the next week or so, but they should be fine with a little bit of cover over them. So we are just kind of freely throwing those seeds, and these will be used for baby greens, so we're not worried about spacing or anything. We're just kind of tossing seeds in the bed and then covering them with dirt. I'm just really looking forward to having salads again, and the sooner we can get that lettuce growing, the better. So this is just an experiment. If you have a little extra seed or older seed, why not see what happens? I love seeing the perennial herbs starting to green up in the garden beds. Levi here wanted to try some garlic chives. My kids love munching on these chives whenever they're out in the garden, so he was very excited to see that it's that time of year where he can snack while he's out here with me again. Besides those garlic chives coming up, I see my catnip that I plant in the beds where I plant my squash is coming up. I see comfrey coming up, and then of course all the beautiful garlic. I have my perennial garlic spots that are also beginning to green. It's just so exciting. I'm ready for garden season. It's going to be a lot of work to whip that garden space back into shape, but I know I can do it if I just take, a couple hours a week. By the time I'm in the thick of gardening season, it's all going to look beautiful again. So hopefully you guys will stick around over the coming months and see how that ugly garden transforms into something beautiful. As always, we're having lots of fun in the kitchen here on the homestead, and I thought it would be fun this week to just bring you a couple recipes that the family has been enjoying. We made lemon bars 2 times over the last week and a half just because the kids had asked for it. So I'm going to bring you that recipe, and we also had a birthday that we celebrated over the course of this video, and I'm going to bring you that chocolate cake recipe. So I've been having a lot of fun working on moving a lot of my recipes over that were made with all-purpose flour into recipes that will work with my freshly ground wheat flour. And so that's what I'm going to, these are lemon bars that are made with freshly ground whole grains. And so let's go ahead and get started with that. The first thing we need to do is to make the crust of our lemon bars. So we're going to start with our flour, and I am just going to do 3 cups of that freshly ground flour. And then we're going to add to that a 1/2 cup of sugar. We're just going to do 1/2 teaspoon of salt and stir that around. And then we're going to add a little bit of vanilla extract, probably about a teaspoon. And then to that, we need to add our liquid fat. You could do melted butter for this. You could do any kind of oil that you like. We have avocado oil in the house, so that's what I'm using, about 3/4 a cup of the avocado oil. And then we just mix that all together, and this forms that kind of short bread crust, I guess, that you would put in the bottom of the lemon bars. So I have my oven preheated to 325 degrees. I'm going to grease the bottom of my pie dish here and press that crust down into it. And we're going to bake just the crust for 20 minutes. And while it's baking, we're going to go ahead and work on the filling of our lemon bars. So we're going to start with 1.5 cups of sugar. And then to that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of arrowroot powder. If you don't have arrowroot powder, you could use flour in place of that and just use about 6 tablespoons of the flour. We're going to mix that together and then move on to some wet ingredients. I'm doing approximately 1 cup of lemon juice. This is lemon juice with the pulp in it. And then we're going to add our 6 eggs. And I like to use my immersion blender just to really thoroughly mix it. And that's it. Those are all the ingredients. It's super easy. So after 20 minutes, our crust has started to bake, and we're going to pour the rest of that lemon filling onto the top and put it back into the oven for an additional 25 minutes, being very careful not to spill it in the process. And after that 25 minutes is up, we have beautiful lemon bars. Oh, my kids love this so much. And they just like it when I sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar over the top of it. And it's really that simple. Like I said, we made this twice over the last week and a half because when the kids are outside playing in the sunshine, and we're grilling out dinner, there's something about lemon bars that just feels like sunshine. It's that beautiful yellow color. So the family really enjoyed that. There's only 8 pieces there because the baby and I don't eat it, but everybody else in the family enjoyed a piece of the lemon bars on that day. Next, I'm going to make that chocolate cake that I mentioned. This was a birthday cake, and I'm transferring, once again, an all-purpose recipe into a freshly ground whole grain recipe. So I'm going to start while my wheat is grinding, and we're going to do 1 cup of cacao powder. And then to that, we're going to add a half a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and just a little bit of salt, and mix that together while our flour was grinding. And once the flour was done, we added 3 cups of the whole grain flour. Now we're adding 2 cups of sugar because it is a cake and we want it to be sweet, 1/4 a cup of avocado oil, and just 2 eggs. And we're mixing all that together with a little bit of vanilla extract and just a dash of almond extract. We also did 1 cup of almond milk. You could use any kind of milk you want. We're a dairy-free family, so we use almond milk. We also use dairy-free chocolate chips, and I'm just melting approximately half a bag of chocolate chips over the double boiler, and then we'll just pour that melted chocolate directly into the batter. This makes a really rich and dense chocolate cake. If you like something like that is kind of fudgy. And then I have my greased round pans, and I'm just splitting that up and dividing it between the 2 pans. Our oven is preheated to 350 degrees, and we're just going to bake these for until the center comes clean with a toothpick, and then we can go ahead and let those cool down before we ice them. Now, David is my resident baker, and he usually does the cakes, but on this day he was busy doing his own work, and so I decided to bake the cake instead. So when you see me decorating this cake, know that it's not as pretty as if my son David was doing it, but it gets the job done. Now we're going to work on our frosting. So I'm putting in powdered sugar. I didn't really measure it, just a little bit of cacao powder and some vanilla extract. And then I add equal amounts of fat to the powdered sugar. So however much powdered sugar I added, that's how much fat I add. I use palm fruit shortening, but you could use any fat that's solid at room temperature. You could use butter, any other kind of margarine or shortening. We like to use palm fruit shortening as our dairy-free frosting fat. And so we just whipped it up in the Bosch mixer here, and it made a nice chocolatey frosting that we can use to decorate my little John's birthday cake. He's turning 7 on this day, and I cannot believe that. Time goes by so quickly. So here is our chocolate frosting. Let's go ahead and get this put onto our cake. So like I said, I'm not the best cake decorator. I have played around once with fondant icing. I made it once and decorated a cake, and it was really fun. And if I had more time on my hands, I would love to get into that and really learn more about cake decorating. But you know what? My children love the cakes just when they look like this even. So as long as it tastes good, they're happy. And my son was thrilled with his chocolate cake. I just sprinkled a little bit of chocolate chips on the top. And then we got his candles on the cake, and he was very pleased. I let each child pick the kind of cake that they like for their birthday, and then I do my best to try to make it. So he enjoyed trying to blow out his candles. He lost his 2 front teeth recently over the last couple of weeks, so it made blowing out these candles difficult. They were also trick candles. His brother Levi there really wanted him to have the trick candles. They always get a kick out of that. So that was a fun evening of celebrating little John. For his birthday, Adam had went and got him a remote control race car, and we were so happy that the weather was beautiful over the last couple of weeks, so he was able to take that race car outside and play with it, and they had so much fun. The little boys are now working on building all sorts of ramps and tracks for the car, and they could stand on the deck and play with it. So that was a hit. It was really fun to see him so excited about his new birthday toy. So, friends, that's about all that was happening here on the homestead this week. We are just enjoying this glorious weather, which unfortunately won't last long. The weather is now going to take a turn for the worse, and we're going to be back down into below freezing temperatures. But I've got my garden areas all covered, and all of those new seeds we planted will be just fine. But we did enjoy the warm weather while we had a chance. I hope you guys also enjoyed the weather and it was beautiful where you were at. And we will see you back next week with another video here. Until then, have a great one, friends. Bye.